tonight.
It just haunts me.
The man responsible for the Humboldt Broncos bus crash prepares for his deportation to India. Saskatchewan's finance minister says the province needs to rely less on natural resources for its budgets. And an Indian Head Photo Lab unveils its one-of-a-kind film scanner.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, March 4th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. The man responsible for the Humboldt Broncos bus crash could be deported to India within weeks. Karen Pauls has an exclusive interview with Jaskirat Singh Sidhu and shows us how the families of crash victims feel about his looming deportation.
As he faces deportation, Jaskirat Sidhu and his wife Tanveer Mann treasure their family time.
It just haunts me, kind of. Nobody wants to be separated from their family, you know.
It's a nightmare, and we can't even imagine the life without him.
Sidhu was responsible for the 2018 Humboldt Broncos bus crash behind the wheel of the semi-truck that blew through a stop sign right into the path of the Saskatchewan junior hockey team's bus, killing 16, injuring 13 others.
I wish I can do something that can take their pain away. I wish that day was never happened.
Sidhu pleaded guilty and in 2019 was sentenced to 8 years in prison. I interviewed him before he was granted parole in 2023. 1 year later, the Immigration and Refugee Board ordered his deportation. Now, one of his last avenues of appeal has been rejected.
He has a pending application for permanent residence on humanitarian and compassionate grounds. They can try to remove him in the meantime. We are seeing the wheels in motion to make that happen.
We think he should be deported.
Russ Harold's son Adam was the youngest player killed in the bus crash. He died just 6 days before his 17th birthday.
We've lost our child forever. It's not like he stole our car and we can go buy another one. We can never replace our children.
Harold says every anniversary, every mention of Sidhu is a trigger.
I'm not giving him a second chance. He's been here 8 years too long already. He's taxing our health care, taxing our legal system. I think it's time to move on.
But not everyone feels that way.
I think I just tell him I forgive him.
Christina Hogan was married to head coach Darcy Hogan, who was killed in that crash.
I just would hope that there's some way that he can forgive himself and know that he's allowed to be happy too.
Sidhu emotional when he hears that.
I have shame, I have guilt, I have sadness, and all of those things I deal with every day.
The Canada Border Services Agency says its job is to remove inadmissible people as quickly as possible, dealing first with the most serious cases, including threats to national security and organized crime. Sidhu is running out of legal options, so the agency has started making plans for deportation. But Sidhu may go alone. His son suffers from a rare lung disorder. Doctors say living in India would put him at risk.
So I'm in a limbo thinking what should we do? Shall I accompany Jaskirat or stay back here for my son?
This family, like many of those involved in the Humboldt Broncos tragedy, still deeply impacted by that fateful day. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Calgary.
The Israeli-American war on Iran is expanding beyond the Middle East. An Iranian frigate with 180 people on board was struck off Sri Lanka Wednesday. Meanwhile, Iranians living in Saskatchewan are worried about their families back home. Payman Pourmomen has family in Tehran. He says communication there has mostly been shut down, and the uncertainty of not being able to contact them is challenging. But many Iranians also see the conflict as a necessity, as they want regime change.
We have already lost, at least, as I said, 35,000 people during no conflict. So it was expected for such things, albeit people still think that as long as they are not close to any military building, any military facility, they're pretty much safe.
Some Iranians in Saskatchewan say they expect less people to die amidst retaliatory strikes and violence than in the past. And the conflict overseas is likely to have an impact on oil prices, something that's a major factor in Saskatchewan's budgeting process. But as Alexander Kwan reports, the government seems to be changing its tune when it comes to resource revenue in the upcoming budget.
You know, I think the best contingency we can have in this province is to not rely too much on natural resources.
It's a surprise statement from the province's finance minister. Saskatchewan has repeatedly used the revenue from natural resources as a driver for its annual budgets. But Jim Ryder's comments this week raised eyebrows.
It's useful to look at opportunities that might exist out there to try to expand. But as a province, it's hard to get away from the fact that we are reliant upon those natural resources to help fuel our province and to support our people.
Just relying on oil can also have its own cost. Take last year's budget. At that time, the province estimated the average price of oil over the year would be $71 a barrel. But over the past 11 months, it has only reached that mark 3 times. It's why the official opposition continues to slam the government's finances.
In a resource economy, you have to build a solid foundation with respect to your budget. So you can't be overly optimistic or rosy in picking those numbers. And time again, we've seen a government who has built a poor foundation within that budget.
Some analysts believe the price of oil could climb to over $100 a barrel, driven by the escalating conflict in the Middle East. But as the finance minister points out,
that'll bring more revenue in for the province. On the flip side of that, you're going to see, you've seen recently that Canadian dollar is stronger. Now that seems kind of opposite of what you'd expect, but that actually costs us money in the provincial treasuries.
And the NDP say the province's ability to budget the price of oil will be no better now than it was last year. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
A report of a gun sent a high school east of Regina into hold and secure mode Tuesday morning. RCMP say they rushed to Greenall High School after someone traveling on the highway nearby reported seeing a long-barreled gun on a vehicle in the school's parking lot.
We responded again immediately to this complaint. So police, it is something we are trained to do in this type of situation. It's something we've done before many times, and in Saskatchewan we've been through this type of incident before. So we're grateful in this incident that no one was injured.
RCMP found 3 firearms that turned out to be BB guns inside a vehicle. Officers then arrested 2 boys inside the school. They would not confirm whether any charges have been laid against the pair. The man who led Saskatoon police on a dangerous chase that ended on a Circle Drive off-ramp last summer has been sentenced. Kaz Dagno was in provincial court Tuesday, where lawyers laid out the shocking details of the incident. Hannah Spray has the latest.
It was a chaotic scene. A large work truck flailing erratically through the streets of Saskatoon last July. Police vehicles in hot pursuit. The vehicle was stolen near Wiggins Avenue and Cascade Street, and police chased it through residential neighborhoods, across the river into the downtown, over to Riversdale, and back across the river. At one point, it rammed into a police car, pushing it a full city block. Kaz Dagno was the man behind the wheel of the truck that day. He pleaded guilty to several charges, including stealing the truck, dangerous driving, and aggravated assault of the police officer who was in the rammed cruiser. On Tuesday, a judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison, which was jointly recommended by the Crown and the defense. Court heard Dagno was high on crystal meth and cocaine that day in July. It also heard about the officer inside the damaged cruiser. He thought he was going to die, so he pulled out his gun and fired 3 shots over his shoulder. Police finally used their armored vehicle to push Dagno off the road near the landfill. The truck rolled into the ditch, and he was ultimately tased and bitten by a police dog during his arrest. But just hours afterward, court heard that Dagno appeared to be in disbelief about what he had done. He told police he was sorry. In addition to his time in prison, Dagno, who's 33, will also be prohibited from driving for 5 years after he's released. Hannah Spray, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A correction now to a story we brought you earlier this week. On Tuesday, while addressing the safety of library staff, the Canadian Union of Public Employees said a staff member had lost a finger in a machete attack. Regina Public Library now says CUPE was referring to an incident that happened at its central branch in 2023. But a staff member did not lose their finger, nor were they injured in any way. Instead, a member of the public was hurt in that incident. Well, it seems our weather has a case of the blahs these days with these dreary gray skies, and before long there may be some snow falling from those clouds for some of us. Hopefully, though, the sun will be back soon. Weather specialist Helena Mahalik has all the answers in her forecast. After the break, stay with us. Welcome back. Since 1999, Indian Head's Film Rescue International has been devoted to restoring old pictures, whether it be old family photos or maybe photos of your childhood pets. Now the company has a new gadget that they say is one of a kind. Eric Stakowicz has that story.
This is one of the largest film restoration scanners on the market, and it lives in Gerald Fryer's Indian Head Photo Lab. Last summer, Film Rescue International developed the multispectral scanner. It can process 3 layers of slides in under a minute, including a photograph from 1889.
We were able to process the roll that was in there, and we got something out of that. So there was an image on there. That woman was a golf championship, the first female golf championship in Australia.
The scanner uses black and white technology, which is different from that of cell phone cameras. Film Rescue International found a way to incorporate colors into the image. Discovering the solution was small banded LED lights.
That we can have up to 6 or it depends on 7 layers, different color small bandits, and then at the end they will all merge together and we will have one color image.
The scanner can also generate an image about 30 minutes quicker than the next best scanner.
There is no software you can buy online or somewhere. No, this is all handmade. And it took a while till everything was running.
The company prides itself on being able to help preserve photographs. Indian Head photographer Lauren Scott has over 20,000 film slides of birds, wildlife, and scenery. He's looking forward to using the new scanner for his slides. Scott sees the photograph as a key to the past.
It stays still. You can really look at it and appreciate it. And so it's certainly worth preserving these records of historical documents.
Eric Stakowicz, CBC News, Indian Head.
And weather specialist Helena Mahalik is back with us now. Helena, good to have you back, but hey, I couldn't help but notice it was not so long ago when it was warm, it was sunny, it was calm out. Now it's gray, it's windy, it's kind of cold out there. Please tell me spring is eventually on its way here.
Yeah, Ethan, spring is eventually on its way. Give it maybe 2 days, but in the meantime, it has been a brutal winter still in March. You know, we're just holding on to some warmer temperatures. It was so cold today because of the wind chill. Let's take a look at our daytime highs from Wednesday. You know, things look pretty nice in the province. Regina hovering around -7, but it felt more like -20. Same thing in Saskatoon, an area feeling around -15, but actually with that wind chill, felt more like -30. So don't let those daytime highs fool you. It is very cold in the province. And we're going to continue to see some winter activity Wednesday night. Moose Jaw and Swift Current could get anywhere from 2 to 5 centimeters of snow this evening. And that is going to come with some mixed activity. In Moose Jaw, we could see some ice pellets with that snow, maybe a chance of some freezing rain as well. As we get into Thursday morning, we're going to start to see that snow shift towards the Yorkton area. So Yorkton could get anywhere from 5 to 10 centimeters. centimeters of snow, Regina 2 to 4 centimeters, and we're going to see some freezing drizzle in Estevan as well. But over the next few days, as we're heading into the weekend, things are going to be much clearer in the province. We finally get a break from that snow, but not for long for the north. We're going to see a bigger system coming in on Saturday morning, bringing some bigger amounts of snow and as well maybe a chance of rain for the Churchill region. So this is a good few days of snowfall. We're going to get some tomorrow in the south. So how much snow are we going to get? Southeast, we're going to see upwards of 10 centimeters of snow, but central areas like Saskatoon might not even see any snowfall, maybe just a little dusting of snow there. And in the north, we're just going to see about 5 centimeters of snow by Friday, but when that big system comes in on Saturday, we are going to see a big shift. Upwards of 15 centimeters in total could be possible, just over 10 centimeters there. It did feel quite cool on Wednesday because of the wind, quite breezy across the entire province. 40 kilometers an hour wind gusts in the south. We're going to see that continue for the overnight hours, specifically for the southeast, and continuing to feel breezy in that area as we get into Thursday morning. But for the rest of the week, those winds are going to be dying down. Still just the southeast are going to be feeling that. But as we get into the weekend, we are going to see that breeze die down, things feeling warmer as well. And tomorrow we are going to see things feeling slightly warmer, but in the north, despite the chance that wind chill is going to be around minus 30. So we don't have a cold alert anymore, Ethan, but things feeling quite cold there tomorrow.
Okay, so no cold alert in effect, but still a little gray for a few more days then.
Yeah, for sure. Still feeling quite cold. And in central Saskatchewan, still going to be feeling like minus 25.
Oh boy, okay. Well, Helena, thank you.
Thanks, Ethan.
A Winnipeg man who was unable to eat solid food for years is finally able to, thanks to a Saskatchewan doctor. The man needed a highly specialized surgery to replace a jaw joint, a surgery that was not available in Manitoba. Arturo Chang has more on how a Regina surgeon stepped up.
After years of protein shakes and mashed potatoes, Daniel McClellan has finally started to eat solid foods again. Today, he's fixing himself a peanut butter sandwich.
Only really the one time I was like, oh man, that pizza was a little hard, but and it's really like almost like week to week, like it's getting better and better and better. This is a 3D print of my jaw.
For years, the Winnipegger suffered from a condition that fused his lower jaw to his skull. Doctors replaced one of his jaw joints with part of his rib, but that also fused, creating 2 solid anchor points that didn't let him fully open his mouth.
Like there was pain, also the inability to eat. I was drinking most of my meals through a straw. I just stayed home and just well, I can't do much.
McClellan needed highly specialized surgery. It was not performed in Manitoba at the time, and only a handful of doctors in Canada could do it. He spent years on a wait list until CBC News did this story on him in 2024. That's when a surgeon in Regina stepped in to help.
I've been able to see some fairly significant complex cases in my training at Toronto and in Michigan. And his was definitely probably one of the hardest ones I've come across.
Dr. Christopher Ward is originally from Manitoba. About 20% of the patients he sees in Regina come from his birth province. Ward says Canada's healthcare system is in dire need of resources, making opportunities to train for specialties like his extremely limited.
That there's a deficiency in people who have this skill set. And my ultimate goal is to help train people, just as I was trained, as the next generation to provide this skill set, given that the current era of surgeons doing this are starting to get close to retirement.
Last time I checked, I was at about 26 millimeters.
McClellan still needs to do jaw exercises every day, but says he only needs a couple more weeks to fully recover. Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Saskatoon Council committee has backed bike lanes on a stretch of Victoria Avenue. The bike lanes would be constructed along this stretch of Victoria between Taylor and Ruth Streets, and they would eliminate current on-street parking, but they will only get built if they're funded by another level of government. The lanes are expected to cost $3.8 million. Council still needs to approve the plan, and Council also approved bike lanes on Victoria between 8th and Taylor Streets 5 years ago, but those lanes remain unfunded. Stay with us. We have more news and a final look at the forecast when we come back. The Saskatchewan Arts Alliance says its new survey shows people in Saskatchewan love arts and culture. The Arts and Culture Advocacy Group released the survey's results on Wednesday in Regina. More people than not believe arts and culture make their communities better, although support drops in rural areas compared to cities, with 91% support in cities and 78% in rural areas. The Alliance says just 4% of respondents held negative perceptions of the arts. The group commissioned the survey to get data of people's opinions regarding the topic.
The most important thing that anybody and everybody can do in our province is support the arts. Go out to things, check out things that are happening in your local community. Go to concerts, go to theater shows, go to the symphony, go to big things or little things or free things. There's lots and lots of amazing arts and cultural activities that happen across our province every day, all the time.
The poll also found that 86% of people believe government funding for the arts should increase or at least be maintained. The poll by Insightrix surveyed 400 people across the province last fall. And Helena, my informal survey says 100% of people across the province are ready for it to be spring.
Yeah, me too, Ethan. If you can just hold on one more day, there are some warmer temperatures coming your way. Let's take a look at the forecast for the city of Regina. Thursday, we are going to still see some winter-like conditions with some snowfall and some colder temperatures, but into the weekend, we see the sun coming out Friday, temperatures at freezing before jumping up on Saturday. Despite the chance of a breeze, things are definitely going to be feeling warmer than they have in a long time, and we're going to see that warmer weather carrying over to Sunday with a chance of some rainfall. Into next week, temperatures drop back below freezing and another chance of some light dusting of snow, but things definitely will be warmer than they were this week. In Saskatoon, same thing. Temperatures still cooler Thursday, and we see a chance of snow. But as we get into Friday, the rest of the week, the sun is out, and we're seeing temperatures rising. Over the weekend, temperatures above freezing, slightly windy. And as we get into next week, we are going to see the return of some below freezing temperatures. Overnight lows feeling a little bit cooler as well, with a light chance of snow. But Ethan, as long as there is some warmer weather over the weekend, I don't even care what next week has in store.
Yeah, agreed. Looking like a much better forecast there. Thank you so much, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is our news for this Wednesday. For more news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to our CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.